how do you say this guy's name? Is it David Pakman?
I don't even know how to say it.
David Pakman? Anyway, here, let's play this.
This is David Pakman responding to the Taylor Lorenz reporting.
Some creators in the first 48 hours took the Wired story and expanded it with even more outrageous claims, suggesting that it's AIPAC or IPAC. I don't even know how it's pronounced. that is funding this show or other creators. Of course, not true.
Can you go back a little bit?
I don't even AIPAC or IPAC. I don't even know how it's pronounced. AIPAC, IPAC.
Just play it one more time.
With even more outrageous claims, suggesting that it's AIPAC or IPAC. I don't even know how it's pronounced. AIPAC,
Whoopsie.
IPAC, that is funding this show or other creators. Of course, not true.
Oh,
He's got to be joking. He's got to be doing some sort of dry humor bit there. I refuse to believe he doesn't know how
Shot?
is pronounced.
Shot there, Binder. Shot. Now, chaser. I bring you.
What's a funny joke?
It was a good joke. Hopefully it was a joke. I bring you this montage that many wonderful social media users. Who is this person here? Full Slack went back into the archives. All you got to do is probably Control F AIPAC. Here it is 6 years ago talking about Ilhan Omar.
AIPAC, from AIPAC, AIPAC, support AIPAC. AIPAC.
Okay. So.
I mean, it has to be just a joke. I mean,
Yeah.
What?
Not a good
It's not
one.
a joke. It's not a
Pakman
joke.
doesn't joke. He doesn't have a sense of humor. What's fascinating to me about this, though, is what he says before, which is he's threatening lawsuits about this stuff, implying that the Wired article is like so defamatory and huge problems with it. He could call it fully debunked in what I would call a Trump-like turn of phrase.
Oh, that was that statement that was like copy and pasted by a bunch of creators, calling it wholly and fully debunked or something like that. When not a single thing about it has been debunked. The article is still up in full, unchanged, on no corrections. The article by Taylor Lorenz in Wired is legit.
And the thing that's telling in this thing here, Pacman says, and I'm just gonna play the audio here. Listen to what he says.
First 48 hours took the Wired story and expanded it.
So that is slimy, what David Pakman did right there. Because he doesn't address ever, and none of these people do, the Wired story and the thing that's wrong with it. What Pacman does right here is moves on from that.
48 hours took the Wired story and expanded it with even more outrageous claim.
I don't know anybody who said explicitly David Pakman is taking AIPAC money.
No.
People were concerned about the money from Chorus he wasn't disclosing.
Right.
The only thing people said about Israel at all is that Pakman has a major blind spot in the issue, which is evident by the fact that he either sincerely, jokingly, or is a lie, acts like he doesn't know how to pronounce AIPAC. That is disqualifying. The Democrats should not be paying anyone. Whether they disclose it or not, who doesn't know how to pronounce fucking AIPAC in 2025? They're their top 5 PAC spender in our elections, David. Do you care about elections?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, also, we should say that, I personally don't believe that David Pakman took any sort of guidance on his content from Chorus because he didn't need to. David Pakman was already not covering what's happening in Gaza well before Chorus even came into the picture. Chorus didn't have to tell David Pakman not to cover Gaza. He was doing that himself on his own.
Yeah, well, it's a chicken or the egg situation, right? Where it's like, did Chorus, and by the way, Chorus is the group that is essentially the middleman in between the dark money billionaire-backed fund, which we do not know where that is coming from, the 1630 fund, and the creators. So yes, it does have a public-facing element to it where they also recruit some of these people to sign up. But what was unearthed by Taylor Lorenz's reporting, again, gone over by Wired's editors, by their lawyers. This is a paper that has published stories that have been unimpeachable about very serious topics about the Trump administration, including them editing out minutes of footage of Epstein's cell, including Doge's activities. They have to protect themselves legally. And they did so not just in their critical reporting of the Trump administration, but they did so in this case as well. And I'd encourage people to listen to Taylor went on the Vanguard yesterday, and I was listening to a bit of it, and you know, she speaks about her history of reporting on libs of TikTok. I think she did a lot of critical reporting on Charlie Kirk, and she focuses on the influencer space in the political realm broadly. And none of these folks had anything to say back when she was covering these like Republican influencers in these this incredibly critical way. But now all of a sudden they're going to use these same Trumpian tactics against her. And it you know, there's a part of the story at this point that has an update, which is basically like the lawyer writing in and saying like, hey, you know, this is our statement on it, but it didn't alter the substance of the story whatsoever. So this is what I meant to say. What Taylor mentioned in her interview with the Vanguard guys was like that I guess Brian Tyler Cohen has accused her of being in league with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, like, and his harassment of her and obsession with her led to the doxing of her and her family. And she speaks about that there. Like, this is not somebody who is in league with Republicans. I mean, Taylor is, before this story, was known as one of the Republican boogeymen who focus on her in this way. One, because she has a personality online, and she even admits, like, sometimes I can be a little bit crazy on Twitter or whatever, but I have views and I'm open about it in ways that other reporters conceal and pretend to be robots in public. At the very least, you know where Taylor stands on all of this stuff. And her reporting history is fairly unimpeachable on these right-wing influencers and on this. And so it's really disgusting, in my view, to see these kind of Democratic influencers basically using fake news and these Trumpian tactics on media figures that they don't like, instead of just owning up to this kind of thing.
I saw that clip that they used where it was Candace Owens and what's his face, Tucker Carlson, talking about Taylor Lorenz, and they very sarcastically said something, very tongue-in-cheek said something about her. So obvious they weren't promoting her, they were knocking her, and that was the clip that they used to say that she was like on their side and they like her and is in, like, they're all in bed together. It was ridiculous.
Dishonest smear of the messenger. That's literally ad hominem, and they don't address, like, again, any of the claims about like the contract conditions. They just say, oh, well, those aren't enforced, which, I mean, please. And this idea that, okay, some of the creators you've never heard of that were taking this stipend were critical of the DNC in this way, or, you know, said something in support of Gaza. I wonder if they would have after the full incubation period. You know, like I'm sorry, I don't credit that. I don't think that's that impressive to me when those terms are what they were. And this thing about, like, they need to give a heads. They just need to give a heads up to Chorus. Remember when Olivia Giuliana couldn't find an opinion, anything to say about Zoran, and she's like, oh, I didn't. I haven't looked into this yet. Do we really think? Do we think this had nothing to do with the Chorus thing?
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, I'm not saying it definitely did, but I'm sorry, when I see a contract that said we need to clear certain things with us, and one of the lead Gen Z influencers saying they haven't been following this Zoran thing and don't have an opinion about it, that seems to me like, oh, they signed a contract and they are awaiting what to say. That's the appearance that it gives. The guidance, and the reality is that this space is deeply underregulated, and there is like very little oversight or understandings. Bless you. Excuse you. Bless you. There's very little transparency about where this money is coming from, and I'd imagine that this is just the tip of the iceberg of the kind of funds that are pouring into some of these
internet media sources, because I think especially really 2020 on, companies realize, and there's been an explosion in podcasts popularity. There's even more and more, and the pandemic supercharged this, where they realize like, hey, we can take out ad space on some of these podcasts for really cheap. Why don't we start to pour money into this? And there's really no oversight on this front. So first comes advertising money. Then in the political podcast realm comes dark money. And everything is pay to play right now in our social media ecosystem, because the chains are off. You're pumping these like controversies that are completely manufactured, like the Sydney Sweeney jeans thing, or the Cracker Barrel logo that no one in real life cared about, but social media was telling you that you cared about it. It's because this is like information warfare, and we have probably very little understanding right now of all of the money behind trying to get this stuff to the top of the algorithm and gaming it that way.
No, absolutely. And just 2 points to what you and Matt were both saying. The first, I think we have to acknowledge that a lot of more liberal aligned pundits and more like liberal leaning politicians actively use the corruption, the greater and more naked and oftentimes more clumsy corruption of the Republican Party to justify what they consider to be their like lesser magnitude corruption, and David Pakman makes that point there when he highlights AIPAC, right? He draws the comparison between the dark money he's taking and a more problematic, obviously more problematic, no dark money group AIPAC, or a lot of what they do is out in the open, to be honest, but they have problems other than whether how secret it is. But the reality is that just empowers the far right. Like engaging in the same type of corruption, engaging in the same kind of like naked corruption just allows for people who are disillusioned from politics already to go, like, you see, it is all the same, which is partially what they're doing. But it's something that we have to acknowledge is a fundamental flow of lesser evilism, that you have people who are in like these liberal aligned spaces who look at how evil or how corrupt Republicans are and actively only try to be slightly less evil than they are. They don't try to be good. They just go like, well, I'll just be like slightly less bad than they are. That being said, I am very willing to take dark money from any group that is willing to give it to me. However, I am not willing to agree to make any concessions to the things that I say, not because of moral courage, but because of impulse control problems. So if we can make that deal and stick to it.
Yeah. And I just want to say, too, that like the part of why this is such a betrayal is that the independent media space was supposed to be and sold to folks. One, I think Pacman describes himself as independent, if I'm not mistaken.
He puts that in his marketing for sure.
It's described as something that's basically outside of the perverting elements of the mainstream media here,
That's
where
the value proposition,
where I'm just responsible for you, and you have like the trappings of independent media, or the way that it's presented indicates that
member supported.
But
it's
in fact, it might actually be worse than a lot of some of our more established media standards that have been in place for a while. I mean, say what you want, of course, about the mainstream media and all of that, but there is at least like Chris Hayes isn't determining what ads are going on his show, right? And there is or even CNN. Yeah, there's issues with like if you step over the line too much and you piss off an advertiser, you might have a meeting with the CEO, and that's an issue. But that's not determining your day-to-day coverage. I'm sorry, that's just not how it works there. You're getting money from a Democratic affiliated dark money group? Are you serious?
Right.
That's direct, and it's also, you're not being transparent. If you have an advertiser, you read the ad.
Right.
Yeah.
But to me, like the ability. No, go ahead. Go say what you were gonna say.
I was going to say, yeah, and it erodes people's ability to like critique money in other groups, because this is something that we have an issue with, and it's not just limited to like, pundits online. Democrats and Republicans both engage in this sort of myth making that taking money from groups doesn't impact the way you behave. And that is not something you should teach people, because it is not true. But it seems like it can be true when you're getting that money and you want to imagine that it's not impacting the way you behave.
Right. It's self-flattery.
But to me, like the story, Taylor Lorenz's story was obviously a well-reported story, and it obviously was significant in in online political influencer circles, political creator circles. But like overall, like the story itself didn't have like much legs to me outside of like obviously it was impactful, but it wasn't going to be something that would have, ruined these people's careers if they handled it correctly. To me, the craziest thing is the reaction. Yeah. Like how easy it would have been for the creators, the chorus to come out, address the situation, put out a statement saying, we're going by the usual sort of I guess influencer sort of way at looking at things, but we really should treat ourselves like journalists because that's how our audience looks at us as they come to us for news. We might disagree with some parts of her reporting, but this is how our creators felt based on, who she spoke to or the chat log she saw. And we're going to, change how we do things here and work to be more transparent. It would have been super simple. Story would have been over. No one would be talking about it anymore, outside of certain circles. But instead, they lied. They lied over and over again about details in the story, about it being debunked, about Wired correcting it or something like that. I saw people arguing over Wired correcting the story when they never did. The story is exactly what was published with additions to the story as more information came in that did not change the actual reporting at all. And they lied to their audience about it. To me, like the first thing is forgivable. Some of these creators are new to the scene. Yep. They're fairly young, some of them. They're learning, they admit they made a mistake, and they correct from the mistakes that they learned about from this reporting, and they do better. That would have been that. But instead, they lied. For me personally, if I was the audience of any of these creators who went on record and lied about the story, I would never be able to trust these people again. They lied.
Pacman was already established. Pacman was already so established that is where it's a little bit more difficult. I think as I had an interaction, kind of debating this a little bit back and forth with John Favreau of PodSave respectfully, but I basically was saying that kind of same point there, Binder, where it's just like if you're a younger creator and they're probably not getting the max of $8,000 a month, they might be getting like $500 a month, and they maybe don't have a big following. You can see like they don't have the infrastructure almost to say no to that kind of thing. But when you're like Juliana or Pacman or somebody that's already has a big platform, I just think it's pretty indefensible. Singing to the Chorus writes in, is there any chance TYT knew about these contracts and that's why they accuse MR of the supposed Kamala ads? Nah. It's an interesting theory.
No, I'm just making shit up.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess the only reason I would say it's there's some weight to it maybe is just because I know that that when they might have some Democratic Party contacts from the time they sold their email list to the Biden campaign in 2020.
I mean, why they would think that we would take this? I mean, you have to be
projection.
Cuckoo. I mean, the Pacman thing, and Binder is right. Like, the response has been shocking.
Yeah.
Just call it fully debunked. Again, that is a Trump-like attack on the press.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Matt, but just to say, Pacman's threatening to sue Taylor. That is Trump-like and messed up. Taylor gets enough abuse online, and I don't care if people don't agree with me on this. If you're a man, if you're Hunter S. Thompson, if you're like Glenn Greenwald from 10 years ago, you get to be somebody who's like opinionated on the internet, maybe have some opinions people don't agree with, maybe piss some people off, and people don't write you're off your credibility or micro focus on maybe some of your flaws in the way they do for Taylor. There have been like years and years of misogynistic attacks against her, and the fact that I see some people on our side engaging in this is despicable to me. Go ahead, Matt.
Sue Wired. Good luck, David.
Yeah, good. Do it.
Because just let me get this out quick. Yeah. This thing about this fully debunked. Guess what paragraph still exists untouched on this as I read it right now. The contracts reviewed by Wired prohibit standard partnership disclosures, declaring that creators will not publicize their relationships with Chorus or tell other members of the program without Chorus's express prior consent. A screenshot from the slideshow, blah, blah, blah. They also forbid creators from disclosing the identity of any funder and give the Chorus the ability to force creators to remove correct content based solely on the organization's discretion if that content was made at a Chorus organized event. Just to finish that, because I did go over a screenshot from the slideshow that was shared with Wire. This is what they were talking to about a supposed correction, which was really just addition by a subject who reached out after this story got probably more attention than they were expecting it to. But a screenshot from a slideshow was shared with Wired following this article's publication by Graham Wilson, a lawyer working with Chorus, offers several talking points if a member of the cohort wanted to discuss Chorus publicly. But I'm sorry, a slideshow is different than what's in the text of the contract that you made people take or leave without letting their lawyer see it. Like, that's insane. You any kind of contract like that is fucked up in this business, and it not only makes you look bad, it also casts aspersions on all of us, like we said with TYT making those allegations. They've just ramped this up. Now Tim Pool can say, oh, you're probably taking dem money.
Right.
You're probably, who cares? The nihilism here by these people, and to act like this is about winning power or saving the world. It's about putting money in your fucking bank account.
Right. Matt hit the broader thing there perfectly, but also I want to just focus on what would Pacman sue Taylor Lorenz over? Like, I looked at this, and when I heard someone told me he was threatening to sue her, like, what she says about him is indisputable because she clearly has his name in the proof. Like, there's that whole article that Matt just basically broke down some of the bigger parts, but Pacman is only named in a section with other influencers as influencers included in communication about the program, and in some cases, an onboarding session for those receiving payments from the 1630 fund. So unless Pacman has some sort of proof debunking Taylor Lorenz that he wasn't in these communications that Taylor has, which she wouldn't include his name if he didn't, then what is he going to sue her over? Like, she doesn't.
She has screen recordings. She has the group chat. She can't publish the exact contract, which is what like these streamer brain idiots are saying because they've never read a New York Times piece before that doesn't sometimes publish actual documents because they have to summarize them to not out their source. This is standard journalism, including the difference between a correction and an update. And everybody, and either people are being disingenuous or they don't have the media literacy to understand this. And I'm not sure which one is a worse problem. Matt has an appointment, so I'm going to read some IMs and get out of here. Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's all good. I mean, we can't keep talking about this for an hour more.
Nate Silver's Sweaty Abacus. Pretty neat how Pacman and all the other creators in the Wired article have gone with the Clarence Thomas defense regarding Harlan Crow. They just like what I do and me as a person. Please think no further on this. Luke from Oregon, live from the 1630 Chorus studio. Dave from Jamaica. Matt Binder is correct. Even Taylor herself said the reaction to the story shocked her.
Hit dogs hollering is the phrase that people are using.
Karl Marx, I'm embarrassed by you guys ignoring the most important and international and moral issue of our generation. Pacman losing a few dozen subscribers.
Fundraising opportunity, though.
Singing to the chorus, as reported by Nathan J. Robinson on Twitter, Pacman's brother, who's a producer on the show, was a regional director for the ADL.
That's true.
It's not AIPAC money, but Dave's love of the game. Still, I will forever call him David AIPAC.
To be fair, David was mispronouncing AIPAC as IPAC like 13 years ago. So I think there might be some sort of anxiety about. I think he's lying about not knowing how to pronounce it, but
yeah,
weird stuff going
on. Dan from Columbus, I watched Hassan covering AIPAC Man and pulled up the Pacman Reddit for the post saying that it could look the other way about the Wired article, but this was disqualifying. Pacman responded basically, I mispronounce stuff all the time. It's no big deal. Here's a list of other words I can't pronounce. Theo Bong, Chorus is like Tenant Media. They didn't pay them to make specific content. They paid them because they liked what they were saying and wanted to subsidize their message.
Yep.
Kyle Leck. AIPAC, what is he talking about? The International Particle Accelerator Conference? 3 more. Fratter 12. The name is too cool for something so tawdry. Real dark money should include portraits of undead presidents.
It's a sick idea. Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
The
that's cool.
abortion nurse. I'm middle-aged, so I remember a time when respected and ethical reporters used to go to jail to protect their sources. I don't think people now know the difference between actual reporters and commentators. Commentators are important and can help provide commentary. But as a reporter with an impeccable record and working with a respected news organization, it's important is an important source of facts.
Yep.
When they call her a liar, they help the Republicans with their crusade to discredit facts.
To protect their own venal interests.
It's the same reason, like, someone will call me a journalist on Twitter or something like that. I am not a journalist. I am not a journalist. Journalists do incredible, important work. I'm a commentator. That's very different.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.